Hey, it's episode 401. It's
401.
after 7. So we had technical glitches getting started. Yeah, I went to sign us in and said, "Oh, it looks like you're signed out." I was like, "What the?" And I go back out. It was completely. I was like, "You son of a!"
What the
relog back.
beep?
I had to log in too. You had to log in, and then here we are.
That's what happens, right?
Techomonology.
Yep. So how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing all right. It's been a busy day. I got up this morning and we didn't do the show this morning. I went to breakfast, but then I had a shop come in. I planned on already working in the afternoon, so I basically ended up working most of the day. Got home about an hour ago.
Okay.
And got the show set up after I ate some dinner, and here we are. But I'm off tomorrow, so it's no big deal. Taking a half day off on Saturday, so I wanted to get some shops in just to kind of try to balance a little bit.
Yeah.
Got a concert. Kevin's coming up with Chloe. We're gonna go see Ministry down at the Masonic Temple.
Cool.
So looking forward to that. And then they're playing some of their early stuff, which is they kind of had like a weird, funky type music. It wasn't the heavy metal they kind of became. It's different. So it's kind of curious to see how it is live. So I've seen them live with the Freaks on Parade tour a couple years ago with Rob Zombie, Alice Cooper. And so to see what they look like now with where this classic stuff is, I'm like, this will be interesting. I'm kind of curious about this. It'll be fun.
Nice.
So, and then just kind of yesterday's been I went through the rest of my script I've been working on for the Boomtown Scabs 5. So I went through and colored all the pages I had, which was 21 pages, and I figured out how many more pages I got. So I got about 10 or 11 total pages to finish up drawing, and then I can color them. So I'll have stuff to tease a little bit at Motor City next week.
Nice.
And I'm hoping I can plan a pre-order at the same time. I'm not going to do a Kickstarter for that issue. I'll do a Kickstarter for the trade. But so I'll figure something out, and that way, if anybody's interested in pre-ordering it at Motor City, I may have a link or something. So
yeah, and then we'll be doing looking like we're going to be doing the same thing with Last Light. They're still on their way, but I don't get tracking info until it arrives in the ports at California.
Yeah.
I contacted the company that did our printing, and they verified that it is shipped. It's on its way, but they can't, from their end, they can't give me any firm dates on when it will arrive in California. So hopefully, knock on wood, I have a feeling once it actually clears customs, it'll be fast in getting here.
Yeah.
It's just going through that process is the hard part. So still waiting on that, but we will have samples of the books at both my table and Brett's table. So you can order copies through either of us at Motor City, and they'll be here soon. So,
well, cool.
Yeah. Really quick before we move on, too, you were mentioning the concert. Jill and I went to see AC/DC last Wednesday night.
Yeah. And, you showed some video. You guys didn't buy the horns?
No, we didn't buy the horns. A
lot of people did. I saw them horns lighting up.
It was probably roughly 50% of the crowd. Yeah. They were everywhere, and they're like $25 a horn thing. So they made some bank just on those things.
Oh, well, it's Angus's War forever. Yeah. He's playing, so
yeah. So they sounded amazing. It was a phenomenal concert. I mean, Angus Young is 70, Brian Johnson 77.
Yeah.
They rocked it out the entire time they played. It was really good. And then Pretty Reckless opened up for them. They sound great. I didn't realize how many songs of theirs I knew. I expected one or two to know. But there was probably 4 or 5 of theirs I actually knew. I was like, there's more songs than I thought. So they also did a good job performing. So good time.
Oh, good. Yeah, I wanted to see it. I just didn't get a ticket, so.
Yeah, it was a pricey one for me to go to. but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. So worth it. Worth going out. You gotta go out and have fun sometimes, you know.
Well, and that's the whole thing, and that's what I've said for a long time is yeah, we work and sometimes working really hard. You got to make the money, you got to do this stuff, but it's no good if we're just not doing anything.
Right.
So you gotta have some fun. You gotta go do some things, get out of the house a little bit. So concerts. You know how big I am on the Universal things. So
Oh yeah.
and that, but it makes me think of when you talk about ACDC. I always think of this guy here.
But the best is Brian Johnson. He comes out. They could take any song. They all sound the same. It's always the same concert, but it rocks. They could take the Hokey Pokey and tear it up. They gotta come out like, put your left foot in.
It was just like him.
Yeah, he sang with him on podcast recently.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Put your left foot out. Put your left foot in. Can you shake it? Shake it. Shake it all about. Doing the hokey pokey.
I never seen that.
Yeah.
Well, I think they found their front man if anything happens to Brian Johnson.
Oh yeah, he could do it.
Wow. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
so let's go ahead and knock out your ad read, and we'll get back into some more stuff here. So.
As Brett and I were talking about, having to work and so we can actually enjoy life sometimes. Well, that's what we do here. We do real estate for our work. Team Titans Real Estate, Jill and I, we bring it all together, all of years of experience, negotiating skills, and everything else to benefit you. We had 2 closings on Monday that went phenomenal. It was a lot of work, a lot of work behind the scenes to get them through, but our clients were very happy and amazed at how they got to have front row seats to seeing how much work we do as realtors. When you hire a good realtor, we work hard. So we don't just put a sign in the yard and then just let you float out there on your own and wondering what's going on. So we take care of you. So give us a call, 586-232-5144. And we're here for you. We'll take care of you. It's been an interesting time. I think I mentioned it last week. Usually we see a big surge in listings after Easter, and we're not seeing a big surge. There's a little bit of an increase, but not the surge we normally have. And so on the buyer side, we have been doing some really serious negotiations for our buyers to get them their deals. It's competition out there. So you want a realtor who knows what they're doing to put your best foot forward and help you get that house that you want to get. So give us a call. We're here for you.
All right. Yeah, it's beginning of May here. It's been busy for me for Shipped in terms of most days. I've stayed pretty safe. I was like Saturday was a little slower than I thought it would be. I ended up picking up a little bit in the afternoon. Sunday was real busy, of course, but this is the first full weekend. But it's been ups and downs quite a bit, and I think people are still kind of watching their money, how they spend their money. Shipped is or grocery is kind of a luxury regardless, but most of it's not been any frivolous stuff. It's been what people need. It's groceries. Mm-hmm. It's easier to have it delivered. They don't mind tipping, the ones that do, and some will pay a little bit extra depending on which platform they go through. It's like the Ship side, you pay more on Ship than you do on the Meijer.com side, even though it's the same store. But with the Ship side, you get some benefits you don't get on the Meijer.com side, and vice versa. So it trades off,
right.
Things like that. But I'm seeing is driving around. I've talked about this for a few years. With his, not seeing a ton of for sale. I've seen a few pop up this past week that I hadn't seen before. And then I've seen some that I know have been on the market for a long time. So I know that I think they're overpriced. Of course, being around the Ann Arbor area, it's kind of a high demand area, but at the same time, people are kind of like, well, we're starting to look out a little bit because people are just way overinflating the Ann Arbor area pricing.
Mhm.
Because it's people. Oh, you want to be in Ann Arbor? Well, guess what? You're going to pay a premium because we decided we could try to get that, and they're not buying it now. So,
Right.
but it's I think everything is just right now in flux, and and has been for a little while.
Yeah.
Uh, but it should start picking up pretty soon. Plus, now we're getting to past. We're now fully past the not just Easter, but we're pretty much past the winter stuff, or what we shouldn't see any more snow at all. But we're kind of almost past even the frost.
Yeah.
We're getting a little dip tonight, still in the 40s for most areas down here in Southeast Michigan. But it's going to be up in the high 70s starting through the weekend. Depending on who you listen to, whether local news or like my app, which is theweather.com, we could be seeing some 80s again all next week.
Right.
In fact, it's looking really good for the Motor City Comic Con next week for us.
Yeah. And
Scott
that's
and I are both gonna be
usually
there.
Motor City Comic Con is my defining line for potential frost because I've had many years where I come out of the hotel room in the morning and I have to scrape my windshield. And I'm like, it's May. What am I scraping the windshield for? I don't think we're going to have that this year. But
you said it wrong. They've been clarifying this on TV lately. It's May. Because instead of me and May, it's May. Because
Justin Timberlake.
Yeah,
it's gotta be
May.
May.
But yeah, no, I've done that too, and it's funny because there's been some Motor Cities where it got a high of like 58.
Right.
And it's like, and it's cold. And it's like,
yeah.
Man. And then the next week we're up in the 80s and we stay that way for the summer. So anything can happen in Michigan on that stuff, but definitely looks like right now, anyways, we're going to see some warmer weather. I mean, it's 73 here today. Tomorrow's going to be colder, like 60s. And then we start going back up. But yeah, it's like my app says Monday's going to be 82. Tuesday's going to be 75.
Yeah.
And it's just, and it's going from there. So I think it's going to be a warm summer again. It's kind of the way things are looking, but and this could be up and down. Like right now, we're showing 70s for Motor City Weekend, then drop down like 60s and low 70. So it kind of balances out. But then we're getting ready to head into the real start of summer, which is Memorial Day.
Yep, that's right around the corner. I can't believe today's May 7th. It's like a week into May already.
Yeah,
it's just. This whole year, last 5 years have just flown by. I don't know. It's
because we hit that age where we're just getting old and everything just flies by.
It is.
It's like, oh, what am I doing? I don't spend half the time on the toilet anymore. So I don't know. What time is it? 2 a.m. Gotta pee.
Yeah.
The dog, my dog at Hawkins, he's gotten really good about asking to go out, and he's now. We've had him since 2019, and so now that's 6 years. And I know, and he was almost 2 then, so he's like 8, so he's hitting that older age now.
Yeah.
But he started in the last 6 months talking to us, and it's not real words, but it's stuff like that. He gets in my face.
He sounds like Snoopy.
Yeah, he gets in my face at 2 a.m, and I wake up, and he's like right here. I was like, "You gotta go outside?" Shoom, out the door. So just it's hilarious. But yeah, he's like us. He's hitting that age of middle-aged dog now. I kind of pee every 2.5 hours. Yeah. So at least he's good enough to ask to go outside. But.
Yeah, my cat just turned 18.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dr. Anna told me a cat they'd had for a long time. Her 3-legged one they had to put down this past weekend, and unfortunately, but they'd had for a long time, got sick again, and knew that it wouldn't go through the treatments again.
Yeah.
So I was sorry to hear that, but pets are wonderful. I love having pets. So, but
sure.
So this past week we had May the 4th be with you.
Yes, Star Wars Day.
Now I know you as
turning into every day.
Yeah, you and I being both, pretty much lifelong Star Wars fans. I'd always thought of when I hear it's May the 4th. I always thought of May the 4th with you before it became a big thing. Just in the last, I think, what do you think? Like the last 10, 15 years, really?
Yeah.
I mean, they really made a big deal about it.
It was for a long time. Like the hardcore fans would say that.
Yeah.
And and then it turned into. You had May the 4th be with you, then Revenge of the 5th, and
Return of the 6th.
Return of the 6th. And now someone put out a chart for like the first 10 days.
Yeah.
The first May 1st is 501, so that's the 501st day.
Yeah.
They didn't have one for the 2nd, so I proposed the rule of 2 because that's the Sith rule.
Yeah.
But, so they had all these days listed with quotes and stuff, but
Yeah, but it's even like on the Disney store, they got tons of stuff like new sabers and hilts. This is like they have the Anakin's color changing lightsaber set, $220. You can get some clogs. So I mean, they're getting all the stuff out there.
yeah,
And it's one of the things I keep looking like, oh, okay, that looks pretty cool. They have like Ren's lightsaber. The lightsaber hilts get me though. It's like I think they're kind of cool, but at the same time, it's like $180. What
yeah.
the hell? Yeah. Oh, here's a nice tumbler, $50. And it's got like a sticker on the side of a black thing. So sometimes they get a little too ridiculous on some of this stuff here, and then they have other stuff, and it's one of those things I keep looking at going, oh, I wonder if I've got money for this. And they came out with some new, I like my baseball shirts. I don't wear them as much. I'm thinking about starting to wear baseball shirts again at the shows. They have, I don't know if you can see it there. It's
there it is.
Yeah, it's a new Hoth one,
Oh,
and the number is 80 on the back.
okay.
And it's pretty cool because you can see the AT-ATs and the
Yep.
80.
Nice.
I'm like going, that's kind of cool.
Love
I
it.
like that. So we'll see. And I have my Disney card, so I get like 10% off, free shipping. So
Yep. Well, in addition to the May the 4th, we had the 20th anniversary of episode 3.
yeah,
recently go past.
Yeah, they brought that back into the theaters in April there, but actually, I think it was May 22nd or something like that. Is somewhere around that's when that one is.
Yeah.
And then next year is the big one, though. Or not? It's
50?
next year? 2 years.
2 years. 27.
Okay. Yeah, 27. Yeah,
Right.
be the big
yeah.
50th. Yeah, for A New Hope or Star Wars and
Star Wars. I remember when episode 4 was turning 20 in 1997. That's when the special editions came out, and
yeah.
I mean, that feels like yesterday. Now we're hitting the 28-year mark for episode 3.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. It's the movie Fanboys really kind of hit it right in the late 90s there.
Yeah.
People got excited, and a bunch of us went in groups and saw the special editions.
Yeah.
And I had a core group of people that I used to kind of hang out with, or at least knew, or we all knew each other as different people. And so we had like 20 people go see at least A New Hope. And then I saw the other ones, I think, with just a couple people here and there. But literally, it was all just. I remember Paxton, we were at, it's now a Cinemark, but it was Showcase Cinemas, and that's when you'd have to show up because you couldn't get assigned seats, so you want to get the best seats, and so you'd have to get there, and they would corral everybody in these pins basically inside the movie theater, and I remember because all these guys brought their lightsabers, stuff like that, and they're waving around, and one of my buddies, a guy hit him in the head. He looks at, don't do that, and he goes, oh, I'm sorry. Hits him again, and he took his lightsaber, bent it in half. It's one of those cheap ones, and tossed it. The guy was like, where's my lightsaber? He goes, yeah, don't hit me again. But it was always fun, and Fanboys had that. It was all these people were like Star Wars. Nobody cares about Star Wars anymore. And then when they get re-released, we all come out of the woodwork. And then when episode 1 comes out, we're out of the woodwork. Like, we're free again. We get to see some Star Wars.
Well, the modern day young fan, they don't understand how dark of a period it was in the early 90s, where Star Wars was pretty much dead, and it was just the hardcore fans. It was the expanded universe books.
Yeah.
That really the hardcore fans were able to feed their appetite through the books, and that really grew really well, and then that kind of I think kept it afloat enough to really make the special editions a special thing, and then it blew up after that.
It was also it was Jurassic Park, watching that thing on ILM, but I knew this from before that. It was once they got the technology a certain way, and George said, okay, here's what I want to do, and he went back and did the special editions. Really, that was his trial to make sure it would work.
Yeah.
And then I think he was also testing the fan reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the thing was I probably in the 90s, I mean, I had the VHS of whatever's current versions of those films from the early 90s. Then they came out with the special editions. I even got laser discs of them all.
And the laser discs were cool because they had special scenes that weren't in any other version.
Yeah, so I've still got those, and I have 2 players. I could hook up and watch those at some time. And but it's like they kept all this hardcore fans. It's like, oh, they got a new version of a release, but not bought it. I mean, it's just so I probably got 20 different versions or something.
And then DVDs came out, and so we all had, or not DVD, Blu-rays came out. We had all.
Actually, it was DVDs first, and then Blu-rays.
Then Blu-rays. So we had to keep replacing our or thing. I saw a meme the other
I
day
did-
about why Gen X is so angry. It's because we had to replace our entire music collection like
Well, the thing is, I didn't really.
over and over and over.
Yeah,
and over.
music I replaced. I mean, I had tapes, got
Yeah.
rid of the tapes over the years. Now cassettes are coming back in terms of a nostalgic. I didn't have tons anyways.
Yeah.
I actually, by the time I really started buying music, CDs came out, and I just went right into CDs. Because when I was a teenager and stuff, I didn't have any money for much music and all that stuff. I could buy blank tapes and record them off the radio, holding a one player to the recorder, and and the way they joke about it now, I was like, "Yep, that's all I could afford. Couldn't even afford to record it directly onto it." You probably find the thing on that, but talk about that replacement. It's like, yeah, we got the CDs. Now we're back to vinyl, and but actually, the vinyl thing I like about vinyl is I've been buying some here and there, but I'm not buying everything. I'm not buying. I mean, a few of my bands I really like, the smaller bands. I own them on CD and I'm buying their vinyls. But stuff I got like at Record Store Day, about a Dr. Demento one that's only released on vinyl. It's got a bunch of old stuff from like the 20s and 30s of kitschy songs that he used to play on this thing. And then I picked up last year a couple I really liked. They did a That Thing You Do soundtrack on vinyl, which I thought was pretty cool because they made it look like an actual vinyl from back in the 60s. But then it was also Roadhouse. They came out with one with all the music from Roadhouse that the house band had done, and he was a successful musician after that. So it's got a bunch of tracks they never used in the film, a bunch of music from the film. So I thought that was a really cool soundtrack thing. So that's what I buy anyways.
Well, here's people from our generation will laugh at this. Younger generation might not understand, but this is a very true statement.
Oh yeah. Oh, I can tell. I knew people that they did that. They pay their $1, they get their tapes, never fulfill it, and then refill it out again with a different name.
Different name. Yep, and you'd get like thousands of CDs.
Yeah, I did that. I always fulfilled them. I always get them, paid them off.
I did mine too.
I would buy my 1 or 2, whatever you had to buy right away.
Yep.
And then get my free ones and then cancel it right away and then do it again. So that's how I got a bunch of CDs.
That's how I did it. Yeah. Yep. I would do the minimum obligation. So I did meet mine. So meme Jesus here can be okay with me.
Yeah.
But when I was in college, there were people, because of the dorm rooms, people were like filling out tons of those things and they get so many CDs and they'd be using fake names.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how Columbia House lasted as long as it did.
Well, there's enough people that if you didn't pay attention, they would send you something every month.
Right.
And then they'd bill you and then they'd send you to collections.
Ah.
So that's how they got some people. You had to play it smart. But if you use the fake names, and then eventually they switched it up like, oh, yeah, we're going to need a credit card. Of course, none of it matters now because everything got, switched to streaming. And it's like, oh, I just pay my $8 a month and I can listen to everything.
Right.
So,
yep.
But I still like physical media, especially my movies. Even if I watch most of the stuff streaming, I still want to physically have it. And that's a Gen X thing, I'm sure. It's the owning and keeping it handy and stuff like that. It's just it's a big difference on that stuff. Plus, they change it, and we've talked about this in the show over the years. Because we're now hitting. Actually, I think it's this week is actually our 8th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
So of Odd Musings, but
yeah.
So we've talked about it's like you go watch some of the streaming stuff and they change. It's like Lilo and Stitch, the animated movie. If you go watch it, they changed it from a dryer to something else because of Stitch or Lilo getting in the dryer, and they realized, oh, kids are started getting in the dryers and they can't do that, so they changed it to something else. So it's not a dryer, so kids weren't wanting to get into a dryer anymore on Disney Channel. Huh. If you go back and look at your old DVDs, that they can't change, it's the original thing. And It's just the same thing with movies. It's like I have a Laserdisc of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and it's before they had to change a couple of scenes and fix some animation, because with the ability to pause, they realized that the animators, basically made Jessica Rabbit nude upskirt, which is flipping around when she flew out of the taxi, because it goes so fast in the screen you never saw it in the movie theater and even on home video. But then also when people could pause and it's crystal clear.
Boy.
Oh yeah, it's just like on the Rescuers from the 70s. They had little, they put them in as placeholders supposedly, and they forgot to take them out. It's like, yeah, you guys did it on purpose. And it's little pictures from Playboy.
Oh.
So it's things like that.
Yeah, you gotta watch those animators.
Yep. They get bored and have fun, and they
Yeah.
forget. So
Yeah. So also, we had Thunderbolts come out.
yeah, you saw it
Talk
on.
about that.
Yeah, I liked it.
I
I
did
had a
too.
couple people on my Facebook post that are people that I know are not big Marvel fans. Have been critical. They actually liked it. So I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I think they did the right thing. They actually told a good story, and it kind of was what I was hoping it would be. It
Mhm.
was a better version of Suicide Squad.
Yeah. Yeah. They definitely. Well, and they did it exactly the way we said Suicide Squad should have been done, where the character should have been introduced through other movie franchises first, so we got to know them that way, and then bring them together.
Yeah.
But DC was just rushing everything, and they even DC was just sabotaging themselves. I mean, in the Arrow show, they were setting up Harley Quinn and all that, and a lot of those characters were. It was really coming together nicely in the Arrowverse,
Yeah.
and then they totally screwed that season over by pulling everyone, saying you can't use any of them, and they had set up this whole storyline, and it was just pulled out from under them to do
Yeah.
Suicide Squad, and then that wasn't great.
Yeah. They basically get rid of all the characters, and when they come back, it's like it wasn't what they could do, and it ruined the whole series from that point on. It actually ruined all the
Yeah,
Arrowverse series at that point.
yeah, they never regained their steam the way
Yeah.
that they were. They were really moving in a great direction there, but yeah, but Thunderbolts was good. I saw this article here. Bob Iger says Thunderbolts is the first and best example of Marvel's new movie strategy. We lost a little focus by making too much. I half agree with that. I don't think the problem was making too much. I think the problem is they are just elevating people who are crappy writers due to their personal likes and whatever, and they're focused more on that instead of quality. You know, he can say this is this is their damage control, trying to make it sound like what they're doing, but right after Endgame, he made a very crystal clear announcement: we're not connecting these movies, we're going to do everything separate, we're going to.
And you're talking
And
about Feige, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
it wasn't
and
Iger.
no,
Iger
but it
came
was
in like,
Feige, yes.
yeah,
Iger, was he gone at that time after, because he had left Disney there for a while, and then he
yeah. I
came
think
back.
he was gone. Let me see.
Right.
Let me see when he came back. Because he came back and they had to replace him. He replaced
Right.
the other guy. So,
And Iger was only going to come back for a short stint, but he's still there.
well, I think it's because they can't find anybody truly to replace him. So,
Yeah.
In that, but yeah, I like Bob Iger. Yeah, here we go. 2020 announced his intention to retire, and on February 25th of that year, they named Bob Chapek. So he retired basically in 2020. On December 31st, 2021, Iger stepped down. And then 2022, Chapek was ousted, so he came back in 23. And his contract's extended right now, currently until the end of 26.
Okay.
So, it's under his thing, everything was he allowed the Marvel divisions to run their thing and stuff like that. He'd set up for what he thought was going to be, Lucasfilm running their stuff properly. But even that, when he found out what was going on with the Solo movie, he was the one that instigated, hey, we need to see what's going on with this Rian Johnson.
Yeah.
And he tried to fix that before he left. But, I mean, that's still Kathleen Kennedy screwing things up.
Yeah. Well, where Bob Iger screwed up is the opening meeting, according to what I read, was Lucas sold, expecting them to produce his trilogy and those things, the direction he wanted it to go. Iger promised that's the direction it was going to go. Lucas signed everything, and then Kennedy comes in after Lucas leaves and says, we don't want these 40-year-old white fanboys. It's time to make a change. And Iger bought into Kathleen Kennedy's vision of the future of Star Wars and allowed her to have that free reign.
Yeah, well, it was also that was because part of the deal too was that she was supposed to run it, and that's what Lucas signed off on too. And she basically stabbed Lucas in the back. And I mean, it's just like everything. It keeps coming more and more about the 40 scripts or something like that, or 65 scripts he had written for the Star Wars TV show. It would have cost $40 million an episode, they're saying, but they would have been set in the Star Wars underworld more than actual Jedi's and stuff like that. I'm like, man, if he still got scripts, fuck, go animation with him. You know, it'll cost some money, but not $40 million an episode.
But you know, that's what it would have cost back then.
Yeah.
Now with the way they make like Mandalorian with that,
they would have brought it down.
Closure and everything. They've streamlined it so that they can make high quality. They can make cinematic quality TV. With with Ahsoka and Mandalorian and all these things, they've got that figured out. Yeah. So I think they could produce it now. I wish they could release it though as some kind of alternate universe and kind of like how they released the comic series of what Lucas's original version of Star Wars was. It would be really neat to see what the trilogy idea was for him.
I think it'd be cool. I'd love to have seen it. And it's the scripts are there. He had it ready. It was just, I think it's where
with Filoni in charge though, and knowing how much of a fan Filoni is and how much Filoni respects Lucas, I'm sure Filoni knows what those scripts are, and he'll find a way of merging them into the future.
And that's maybe where, when he was talking about, say, hey, and the next thing after Mandalorian and Ahsoka, it's going to be a whole new setup and direction. And maybe that's kind of where we're starting to see head towards that.
And I'm really hoping, too, once Kennedy's gone, we have this perfect chance of doing post-Return of the Jedi Star Wars featuring Luke.
Yeah.
And that future is Sebastian Stan. They were interviewing him, and he goes, everybody says it except Disney. He gets no calls, but he's talked to Mark Hamill personally, and Mark Hamill is on board for it. He's on board for it. Every person that he's ever talked to, except for the decision makers.
Well, the two people that kind of put the kibosh on all that one is Kennedy, and two was even Iger. They said, we're not going to go and recast these characters. And I think part of that was actually more Iger trying to stop Kennedy from doing something she wanted to do.
But the fans would embrace Sebastian Stan.
Yeah. Oh, they would. They would.
It would work.
And I think too is because when he put the kibosh on that, but then but within like 6 months later is when now Filoni becomes a creative director, and stuff like that. So I think he's been putting things into place.
Yeah. And he is the right age to play Luke like 10 years post Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
Like he's the right age for that. So it would totally work. Physically, he's close enough, and he's an awesome actor.
And I can see that they could be going that route for one reason. In the Galaxy's Edge, they introduced Jedi Luke Skywalker as a walk-around character now.
Oh.
So there is when I've seen the videos, he looks okay, but he doesn't have the proper manners and tone, but he's kind of trying to keep it very solemn and stuff like that. But they introduced that recently. I mean, they brought in Mandalorian. So they brought in, from that, and Grogu. So they were walking around. They've now brought in Luke. They still have Kylo Ren and the First Order troopers. Because, I mean, they've got the ships. And they're going to still have parts of that there. But we're starting to see some of the classic. They're going to, Jedi Luke Skywalker. Like, yeah, he was in the Mandalorian. And that's kind of the version that looks like with the all black outfit. And they really could. I mean, it'd be a better send-off for Luke Skywalker if we could get a couple movies or even a series.
Yeah, the fans want it. You have an actor who's perfect for it. Let's do it, Lucasfilm. Come on. Let's make this happen.
Yeah.
But regarding Thunderbolts, absolutely loved it. It was emotional. Like they did a good job of connecting emotion to the characters and connecting you as the fan to those characters.
I think the best draw in was focusing on Yelena, and Red Guardian, her father, and dealing with it that way, because it brought you into everybody else. And then of course the whole thing was definitely, they were trying to kill off all those characters, and they were all basically there to kill each other. They killed off the one. It was the Taskmaster.
Yep.
Which was a surprise. I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, showed up and then basically was gone.
I kept expecting like somehow like she woke up and was still there or something. And I'm like, no, I think they really killed her.
Yeah, and it's one thing that nobody's talking about is that they killed off Taskmaster because obviously nobody cared.
Yeah, no one really cared about that one too much. I think it was good to kill off one of them right away to heighten the stakes for the viewer,
Yeah,
to show like, okay, no, not anyone, you're not safe. You know, characters can be sacrificed. So I think that was a great move to do that. You know, they could have done Ghost also, but I think they fleshed out the character Ghost really well in this one
Yeah.
for moving forward.
yeah. According to Gizmodo, originally, I mean, I've seen several different versions of what Thunderbolts was supposed to be, and it's changed with everything. Originally, they were going to do Thunderbolt Ross, and then
Yep.
and bring in a Hulk into this, but then they saw that they're doing that with the Captain America, so they completely
Right.
changed.
And they also said Walker was going to be the villain,
yes,
and they changed that, which I'm glad they did because I think it worked out well the way they have it now.
I think he's not he never really was a pure villain.
Right.
He's an anti-hero is what he is. He's a Daredevil style character. He's not he's not going to turn into a full bad guy because he actually still the character believes in a lot of the same things that Captain America does. He just believes about going about it a little bit different.
Yeah. Well, what was it? There's a quote in the first Captain America movie when he's talking to the doctor was talking to Steve Rogers and saying what makes him so great for this is his heart.
Yeah.
And not that he's a soldier, but that he has the heart for it. And John Walker is like the perfect soldier. And you can see how lacking the heart, he can go astray.
Yeah.
Like the ideals can lead you astray. Whereas Chris Evans, Steve Rogers always made sure the ethics is what guided him, not the orders.
Yeah, and they set it up in the movies perfectly with the Captain America movie before he gets the serum and how he was and how he acted and
right.
And he may have been a little 90-pound weakling, but he was willing to stand up for anybody.
Right.
Yep. But I was very happy with the changes they did that made it work. The Taskmaster of the character was not proper anyways in terms of how they set it up originally, but so it's not a big loss there. But I like the team they set up. Looking forward to seeing them come back. And of course, they've spoiled it. So here's your spoiler, everybody. Since it's already spoiled, it's they're now the New Avengers,
which is what the asterisk meant.
Yep.
At the end of the Thunderbolts name.
So they've been changing all the movie posters to New Avengers, and I don't think they're going to change the actual film. But if it came out and now we go see it this weekend and go, it's supposed to be Thunderbolts. It said New Avengers. It would really confuse everybody. But
yeah, I could see them doing it as a subtitle though. So you have the Thunderbolts with the asterisks at the end, and then in smaller letters under asterisks, the New Avengers.
Yeah, but I think it works better to having it revealed at the end, like they did.
Yep,
and then show the logo. That works best.
Yeah, I think I think that was a great marketing idea because if you started it as the New Avengers, I think people would have been more critical right away.
Yes.
So I think that was a genius move on their part. What was your thoughts on the Sentry, the villain?
When he comes out in costume, the only thing I could think of was Nuclear Man from Superman 4. That's what the costume looked like. That I was like, oh my god! And then I liked what they did though. It was you could tell the filmmakers did that intentionally to give you this, and then showed him off to be basically all powerful until this dark side took over, and then what they had to deal with that. Yeah. I did find it. I found it very interesting that the major fight really wasn't like a big drawn out brawl out in the streets. There was some fighting out there, but it was all taking place inside.
Yeah, it was an emotional fight.
Yeah, I like that because it really allowed. Because Elena's been dealing with from Black Widow through everything, her emotions and the mental and stuff like that, and the fact that they had to come in, the other ones came in to get her. Mm-hmm. Really show this, that they all became a team. And that's the thing they even pointed out. It's like they were basically joining forces when they're getting wiped out when they're at this secret base. And Julia Louis-Dreyfus character, she was like, "Oh my god, they're teaming up."
Yeah.
Nobody, I didn't see that.
Yeah. Yeah, I like, and it was funny the twist with how the Sentry's name is just Bob,
Yeah.
and he's just some guy. Now I've looked a little bit into it. I guess that the comic book version of the Sentry is he's actually like three entities in one.
Okay.
You have the Bob entity, then you have the Void or whatever it was called, where that's like the evil side of him, which is like all powerful and evil, and then there's a third entity in there. So he's like a split personality character, and depending on what personality is whether or not he can access certain powers, if I'm reading it right, which kind of fits with the end scene, because they're like, well, can't we ride Bob into battle? And they're like, we're all going to hang on Bob, and he's like, hey, I can't use those powers unless I go dark.
Yeah.
So that was funny, but they said they originally were going to cast Stephen Ewing for that, which was Glenn in The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I can't picture him in that role. That'd be weird with the long blonde hair and, and calling him Bob. But I guess it was the writer strike that happened, or whatever strike it was, that it pushed Steven's schedule into a different thing where he now had conflict, so he couldn't be Sentry anymore. So he had to drop out. So that's when they got Pullman to come in.
Prior to the writer's strike, Thunderbolts was going to be a wholly different movie anyway. So
correct.
In that, but but they got Lewis Pullman. When I saw the name, I didn't think of it until you mentioned it as Bill Pullman's son.
Right. And his face is like exactly Bill Pullman. So it like freaked me out every time I saw him. It felt like they CGI'd his dad's face on him.
Yeah, well, he's a little bit. He's got a little difference though.
A little bit.
But yeah, it's interesting on that. But there's, if you Google though his name, it'll pop up down below. There's some concept art showing Stephen Yeun as Sentry, so you can see a painting of an Asian man with blonde hair.
Yep.
So
now,
but no, I liked him. I think it was. I liked the character, and what I liked though is like he kind of became, in Deadpool, it was a Kumiko.
Oh yeah.
Hey Kumiko. Hey Deadpool.
It's like, it's funny too. Hey guys. The same actor who was playing the Sentry / Bob, he was also his last movie. He was Bob in Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
So he asked if they could change the name. He's like, I really don't want to play two Bobs in a row. And they're like, well, that's kind of his name in the comics. We can't change it for you.
Yeah.
So it's funny because that was kind of how they treated him in Maverick too. Everyone's like, oh, hey, Bob.
Yeah, well, the thing too is funny is that his, he did the Maverick, which they filmed in 2000, and then COVID hit, so he shut down to 2022. He'd already got hired to do Thunderbolts by that time, and it was like Bob. So but he had a bunch of stuff all in between, so it wasn't actually his last one. But he was in. I haven't watched it yet, but he was in that remake of Salem's Lot, came out this year. And he's got a bunch of others. So he's in Outer Range, which I watched a little bit of that. It was okay. So he's been doing quite a bit. I had to look up see stuff here. It's like, oh, and he was in the miniseries for Catch-22. He played Major.
Oh, that's right. Major.
Yeah,
Major.
Yeah.
And then he got promoted and became Major.
Something like that, yeah. And then Bad Times at the El Royale, he was in that. So he's been doing quite a bit of stuff. And and the thing is, it's one of those things where he probably got the insight into certain things through his dad's connections, but he didn't ride on his dad's coattails to get anything he's got. So he's good. I like him in a couple of things I've seen him in. So, and knowing who he is now, I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So Thunderbolts is definitely a thumbs up for me. Glad I saw it. That was the first Marvel. It wasn't like a standing ovation or anything, but there was applause at the end. People leaving looked happy. Honestly, I think the last time that happened in a Marvel movie might have been
probably Endgame.
Endgame, but the Spider-Man one with all three of them. No Way Home.
Oh yeah, No Way Home. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was probably the last time where it was like a visibly happy reaction, and as people walked out.
Well, it's because they screwed up Black Widow by dropping it on Disney and in the theater the same day, so most people just saw it at home.
Also, they screwed up time-wise. If that exact movie came out 2 years earlier and fit in the timeline right, I think it would have been received better.
Yes. Yeah, it was a good film. I liked Black Widow. It was
I
fun
enjoyed it.
and just some good characters. But yeah, I mean
releasing it after she had already passed it kind of was anticlimactic.
Yeah, at that point was, yeah. And then I don't know, it's even with the series stuff like that, they really the screw up was not having a definite plan.
Yeah.
And not having a definite direction. And now they're getting back into that.
Yes.
And that's what we're seeing there. I mean, the end credit scene is for Thunderbolts does tie into Fantastic Four, but now we gotta see where it falls in. Is it something that falls in at the beginning of the Fantastic Four movie, or is it at the end of the Fantastic Four movie? Or where's it play out at? But we know that the end credit scene took place 14 months after the encounter with Bob.
Yes.
At this point, they're now the New Avengers, and they're in the New Avengers Tower.
Well, they're the New Avengers with a Z.
Yeah.
and the Red Guardian is making their outfits for them. And like he's got sponsorships. There was like a Tide patch, and so he's got sponsorships. And then they revealed that they might be in a copyright war with Anthony Mackie's Captain America because
he's trying to
trademarking the Avengers.
Yeah.
So we have now the Avengers, which will be Anthony Mackie's team. We have the New Avengers, which is Thunderbolts, and we have the Young Avengers too. That was created through like the Hawkeye series and all those.
Yep.
You have the younger team, which was
they haven't been officially named the Young Avengers yet, but they have those characters ready to go. Of course, with the Hawkeye one, did you read? They wanted him to come back do a second season, but they wanted to pay him half.
Yeah, which
I was like, well, that's a bunch of crap. He was like, what? Yeah. I get hit by a snowplow and now I get half?
I think what that means is season 2 really wasn't going to be about him. It was going to be about elevating Haley, what's her name, as the replacement. And she was going to really be the star and just have Jeremy Renner kind of as the Obi-Wan Kenobi to
He
her.
probably wouldn't even been realistically not even half the total runtime. He probably would have been like maybe a quarter, a little bit in each one. I think there have been episodes he probably wouldn't have been in it at all. So
yeah, I have a feeling they would have reduced that down. And
but he turned it down. And
their goal is to elevate her.
Yeah, if they're going to do anything with that character, they can try to do something else down the road and insert somewhere else. They don't need to do another season.
I hope they bring them back though for Doomsday and stuff. It'd be nice to see some of the classic characters come back.
Well, and they're talking. I mean, they didn't for Doomsday. They revealed a bunch of characters, but they said they haven't revealed everybody yet. So and again, I think a lot of it could end up being a Deadpoolish style, real quickie. Here they are, and that's it. But I think definitely now here's the thing though. This was my speculation looking at the end credit for Thunderbolts is okay. So it's the interdimensional spaceship, and we know it's recognized as the Fantastic Four ship from the movie. But what if it's not the Fantastic Four? What if it is Doctor Doom on that ship?
Could be.
Yeah.
So,
who knows? There's a lot they could do with that. So it'll be interesting to see in July when that comes out. I'll be at San Diego Comic-Con when that comes out, so I probably won't get a chance to see it until the next week. But I'm sure I'll hear all the spoilers.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. That's too high energy of a place to not get spoilers.
Yeah, and of course then they're doing I haven't seen any release tickets yet, but they're gonna have the draw for trying to get tickets to see the Fantastic Four at San Diego like they did with Deadpool last year. So I'm sure they're going to do a thing where the cast is there, come out and introduce the film, and then they show the film, and they're going to do it the day before it gets released to everybody else. So it'll be interesting to see if they do that. And then they did a drone show last year that they did the 4 up in there, and then they showed Galactus in the drones, and that's how they basically revealed that Galactus was going to be in Fantastic Four. So.
Okay.
So we'll see. I assume they'll do something with that tied into Avengers Endgame. And it definitely looks like since Thunderbolts didn't do it because they were supposed to. They talked about originally is nothing with Kang. I think he's gone.
Originally that was going to be an end credit scene and they scrapped it.
Yep.
But so they did have an end credit with Kang.
Yeah, I think they've just scrapped that whole storyline and been done with it. So there's not much they can do with it. So it was poorly conceived. Nothing against the actor and that aspect of it, but it was poorly conceived in the way they went about it. So
the execution was all wrong. they were so all over the map. This whole multiverse thing, that they had many different movies all touching on multiverse topics, but every movie it had its own reason for the multiverse, its own way. Like it never, there was never a cohesion between the movies and how the multiverse was spreading through all these movies. It was something different in every one, you know.
Right.
So
Well, and that's where the problem lied. Again, no real direction in that. So I'm glad to see we're kind of getting more of a direction again to bring things back around.
yes, yeah,
And go from there. I do think that, with introducing the new Avengers, I mean, if you look at the comics, I mean, for a while there, you had, your Avengers comic series, you had your new Avengers, you had your Great Lakes Avengers, depending on which type level of team you wanted to read. I always liked the Great Lakes Avengers, not one because it's Great Lakes and being from Michigan, but they were always fun. They were a little more humor based, I think, than anything else. But so interesting to see how they proceed in some of this stuff here. Of course, we still want to get mutants out and then eventually get to a Avengers versus X-Men style
yep.
thing would be kind of cool. So besides that, though, you and I are talking. They dropped on Disney Plus the Tales of the Underworld for Star Wars.
Yeah, that was I forgot all about it, and I happened to just, I'm like, oh, I wonder what Star Wars things are going on for May the 4th, and I looked up. I'm like, oh, this got released. It was a fun little watch, made me want more.
Yeah,
especially the Asajj Ventress storylines.
Yeah, it's two different storylines. You got 6 episodes, 3 episodes each storyline. And the first one was the Asajj Ventress, where we see her after she dies, and Quinlan Voss puts her into the pool or whatever, and then she has the option of coming back or joining the witches. She ends up coming back, but she goes into hiding, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and for those who don't know, there was a book called The Dark Disciple. Quinlan Voss is the one with the yellow stripe going across his face there. She dies in that book, and so this gave, and then we see her reappear in other things. So it's like, okay, how come she's alive if she died? So this addressed it and gave us that little scene.
Yeah, addressed also why she wasn't more Sith anymore.
Right.
Lightsaber is now yellow.
Yep.
So,
yeah. So her tales were very fun. Makes me want more. This particular article speculates that she's going to be coming back in the Darth Maul show.
Oh yeah, I can see
is
that.
What they're speculating. So that would be fun. She would be a fun one to go against Maul.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was really good. Makes me now want to watch the Clone War series and Rebel series again, because you forget how good these are.
Yeah, I mean the storytelling in these has been great. I mean, she was introduced in the Genndy Tartakovsky version of the Clone Wars, which were all like 3 to 4 minute long, 5 minute long vignettes they did on Cartoon Network. Which were fun. I like the style on those. You got some Mace Windu. We got a bunch of stuff in there that we wouldn't see till we saw, like, especially like episode 2 came out. But then seeing her go through Clone Wars, we saw who she was. There's been a lot of different talks with her. She worked with Ahsoka for a while there. But yeah, I think that I'd like to see them do a lot more with it. I can see that in the Darth Maul, but I keep wondering, are we going to see a live action though with Ahsoka?
I would love that. According to this other article, is saying this storyline with Asajj Ventress in Tales for the Underworld takes place 3 years after Revenge of the Sith. Is when this particular story is taking place.
Well, that falls right in with the Maul's timeline for the new series, because that's going to be taking place between 3 to 5 years after Revenge of the Sith.
Right. So it's right in there in the timeline.
Yeah. Now, she was born 50 years before the Battle of Yavin. She died 19 years beforehand, but then, of course, she's been resurrected. I'm looking at the Wikipedia, Wikipedia. But yeah, I think that, we don't know how long the sisters of the Night Sisters all live, how many years.
Right.
I could see it. I mean, it would be pretty cool, because, I mean, it is Genndy Tartakovsky and George Lucas created Ventress. It really was Filoni that fleshed her out.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'd like to see her pop up live action. I think a lot of people would. I think she's always been a great character, and definitely something that could, I think, lend more to bringing people more and more into the Star Wars fold of watching these stuff again. So,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
And then the other Star Wars things we have, we won't get into it today, but Andor has been phenomenal. I have like 4 minutes left. They just 4 minutes left of the third episode of this recent release. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna give any spoilers, but so I think it's just one final scene for a certain reveal of a certain droid. But phenomenal. They did such a great job with episodes 7, 8, and 9 of it was really cool. Episode 8 is a physical battle between the Gorman rebels and the Empire, and they did such a phenomenal job there. But episode 9, the political tension and with Mothma, and it wasn't physical action, but it was intense still. And you're like kind of on the edge of your seat, like, is she going to get out of there? And I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, I mean, we know she escaped because we first see her in it was Return of the Jedi. So that's still at this point is still like because this was
and we see her in the Rogue One movie.
Yeah, we did that. That's true. Yes, we know she's there. Yeah, I forget about the Rogue One, but So the first 3 episodes were 4 years before Battle of Yavin, then 3 years. Now we're 2 years. So when we come back next week, it should be 1 year before the Battle of Yavin. At this point, though, we've got Andor as they've gotten Mon Mothma off, so we should see more of the rebellion built up, and we'll see what Andor was doing there. He's wanting to leave. He wanted to quit the rebellion. I mean, that's the interesting thing about that. And so now we'll see what he really does over that next year. And I think that having to go and rescue Mon Mothma there is kind of set him on a new path. So,
well, I think he's sensing his fate is coming, and he says to Bix, he says, the only thing special about me is my luck, and I've pushed that far too long, and it's going to run out. Yeah. So he's like, it's time for us to just go and be happy. But I like also with Mon Mothma, just phenomenal development of this character. It's an iconic character, but we've always known so little about her. Here we see her finally experiencing the rebellion firsthand, where actual death is occurring. And she's witnessing people being shot down. And whereas before, I think it was always at a distance, so it was more theoretical to her. Yeah. Then now she's actually running for her life. She named Palpatine as the monster, and she got that out just before they cut the feed.
Yeah, and you can see what's been happening is they've been. This is all leading up to, in A New Hope when talking about the Senate. Nope, Senate's been dismantled. He's basically been doing that this whole time. Yes, and then 2 years from this point, after before the Battle of Yavin, it's going to be. No more Senate. It's going to be, the regional governors, which they've already been putting into place. Yep. They already kind of hinted at that here and there. So
I also want to give a shout out to Benjamin Pratt. I thought he did very well as Bail Organa. They expanded his role in this last episode. He got a little bit more involved. He's a very good Bail Organa. And I would be happy to see him in the future playing.
Now, the reason he got hired, though, was what's his name? Jimmy Smits.
He didn't do it.
He didn't do it because he was already committed to another project while they were filming.
Oh, that's why.
And that's all it was. He didn't turn it down. He couldn't get out of the project he was in when they finally got around because the strike really threw everything off.
Right.
And when they got fixed, he was like, "I'm committed to this. I can't leave that. Whatever it is he was working on," and. So they and then putting him in that one scene in the second week's episodes, they did that as a filmmaker I saw this online. He did that so people could see him before he became a bigger part of the story in these next 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So the second week episodes, he was one real quick, and they called him out by name so you knew who he was. Right. And then he was Bail Organa, and then we saw him all through these last 3 episodes. And that, but no, he did a great job. He didn't try to imitate Jimmy Smits, but he still tried to bring the same
The
posturing
gravitas.
as and gravitas
Yeah.
of Bail Organa
Yep.
to the role here. Because I mean, this is still a major character that we've seen now, not just in the movies and TV show live action here, but we saw him all through some of the animated stuff. And
So
go ahead.
if Jimmy Smits comes back, what they got to do is, with Friends, the TV show Friends, you could always tell when Chandler, the actor, Matthew Perry, was on drugs by his weight. So what they do is they say Bail Organa had a death stick addiction. And during those scenes in Andor season 2, he was on death sticks.
There you go. Yeah. I have a feeling that we're not going to see Bail Organa again after this.
I doubt it. I mean, I guess it depends what the next storyline is, because Bail ends up in Rogue One. He does end up on Yavin. Now we know he doesn't live much longer after that because he's on Alderaan after that. So they could throw him in maybe as a final scene, showing him arriving to Yavin, because he's stuck on Coruscant there. He said he's going to stay behind. So they might want to just reveal what happened to him during that period, and him maybe escaping to get to Yavin, to explain how he gets there. But that would be the only.
Well, he leaves.
I
think he leaves from there and he just goes to Alderaan. So the only thing I can see is if they leave that. He's kind of doing stuff behind the scenes there and still keeping the appearances.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so he. We saw him in Rogue One. From there he went right to Alderaan, and then
and then it's over.
Yeah. So.
Although, you never know with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Maybe he got stranded on a moon somewhere and wasn't there when it blew up.
Yeah, I doubt that. I mean, the organic character, I think I like that they brought Bill O'Gannon around and they actually gave him a good storyline for all this different stuff here. Because he's one of those characters that you knew about, especially as a hardcore Star Wars fan, from the original trilogy, but you didn't really deal with him much. And now we've got a pretty good story for him. He filled in everything needed to from all the stuff from the prequels on. So
Yep. So we'll see if they do bring him back. Though we could have an appearance of R2 and 3PO because they're with him.
Yeah.
We haven't seen them at all. I'm trying to think other. Princess Leia. They could do some kind of little slip in there. They've mentioned her being a junior senator, and so we know she's out and about there. But we haven't seen it. But that would be cool.
Well, I know there was talks of the little girl from Obi-Wan and her going on to do more Princess Leia stuff is what's been rumored, but I haven't seen anything official. Because that's
she'd have to be. Let's see. At this point, 2 years before, so she's like 14, 15 at this point, Leia.
Yeah.
Because
I think
she was like 16 or 17 in A New Hope.
Yeah, well, she's 12 years old right now. The little girl that played her in the Obi-Wan, so she's 12. Okay. So she could be at the right age for them to cover some of that stuff if they wanted to. But yeah, cool. I think we'll see. I mean, it's one of the things. I mean, we talk about this stuff and they're not listening to us. So it's like, come on, guys. It's like we've got the great storylines here. Here's what you can do.
Give us a call, man.
I just hope that what they do with the Maul series is good. And
it will be.
It's supposed to all take place prior to Solo, so I don't think they're going to do a full tie-in of the Crimson Dawn.
Well, I think they said Dark. So the Saj story is 3 years after, and I thought it said this one is like 3 to 5 years after for the Maul. I thought I read.
Yeah, so I can see a Saj shot in that. I wouldn't mind seeing that. See if she pops in. We'll get some more of her on that aspect. I still like to see if he's going to tie her into the live action though with Ahsoka. But
yeah, that would be cool.
It's just been fun to have some good Star Wars these last few weeks.
I agree.
After the last couple things that popped up, between any High Republic stuff, it just doesn't work. So, indeed. Well, other than that, that's about all I got this week. I
think we covered it all.
Yeah. So we'll talk. we'll meet you all again on next Wednesday, and we'll probably promote ourselves for music or
Motor
for
City.
Hearthstone Motor City.
Yep.
And then so we'll let y'all know where we're going to be at. Start getting some posts out there. We'll have some classic stuff. We're both going to have trades for the Crimson Shadows. I'll have my cover there for sure. And then I'll have some of my classic comics. I got some artwork. And I will be showing off pages. I'll have stuff to see. I'll print something up to showcase the pages I have done for Boomtown Scats number 5, and we'll figure out a pre-order time. I should hopefully have some more information for you guys on that. Because I'm thinking I could probably have it out and ready to ship out sometime in July.
Nice.
So, but hey, you guys take care, and we'll see you next week.
Adios.
Bye.